So we are proud to welcome a sixth career win IndyCar racer in James Hinchcliffe. We appreciate you taking some time to do this. I mean, let's start with the rig that you got going on behind you here. I mean, what is happening as we go through the coronavirus stuff? What has happened to iCar racing? Explain what's behind you.
Well, it's a pretty crazy situation we find ourselves in. Obviously iRacing and sim racing and racing online, it's existed for a long time, but in lieu of what's happening with no professional sports really running, this is one of the few things that we can actually do as athletes to kind of put on a sort of real life show. The software has been developed over years. It's got almost every kind of car you could imagine, every racetrack on earth. And, IndyCar's doing it. Obviously, NASCAR's done it now. But we're getting the real drivers into rigs all across the country. And we're all meeting in one place, one time online and having an honest-to-goodness race. So it's really kind of transformed how this kind of forced off-season's been for us, because we went from twiddling our thumbs waiting for the first race to happen to now, probably spending 5-6 hours a day in these rigs here practicing for the next race.
How much communication is there then between the developers of the software and the racers themselves?
A lot. I mean, like I said, the iRacing software that we're running in the IndyCar Challenge has been around for a long time, and they've worked over the years with drivers of every different kind of car. They laser scan every racetrack, so the tracks are absolutely to the millimeter perfect replications of everything. And so it's a tool that a lot of guys do use in the off season or to learn a new racetrack. It's something that a lot of us have done. There are a couple guys that have been active on the actual online racing community side of it, and they're absolutely kicking our butts because they've got 1,000 races under their belt, and we're all still trying to figure it out.
So give me the inside scoop. What are the similarities to real racing? What are the differences that you've noticed so far?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, similar to a flight simulator, right, to train pilots, what this is designed to do is to really get you to be able to mimic all the inputs that you would give into a real race car. So the inputs to the steering wheel, the inputs to the throttle, to the brake, and in that sense, it does an incredible job. The physics of the car model and the software is so accurate that real techniques that you use to go faster in an IndyCar around Barber Motorsports Park, that's going to make you faster in an IndyCar around Barber Motorsports Park and iRacing. The one thing that you just don't get, and it's the same with pilots, because it's so hard to replicate, is the feeling of G-force. So a lot of these rigs are actually built on platforms that move. They have yaw, they have pitch, they have vibrations. So there are a lot of sensory additions to them. You're not just sitting there in a computer chair, but ultimately you're not feeling that force of the G's through the corners, under the brakes. They try to replicate it as best they can, but that's one of the biggest differences is you can't really get that feel through through the seat of your pants that you get in a real car.
How do you describe that feeling? That the one you just mentioned, the G-force going 240 or whatever it is in an Indy car. I mean, what is that like to a regular human being?
Oh man, that's a tough one to explain. It's a surreal feeling going those kind of speeds like we do at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, like you say, 230, 240. The force, what's so unique about it is that force is on every single part of your body. So you could grab a steering wheel, set up to some weights in a gym and do this and say, oh, that's how hard the steering wheel is. And you could put a band around your neck and pull on it and be like, okay, so that's how much force your neck gets. But unless you're driving an actual race car, getting every inch of your body to experience that G-force all at the same time, you just really can't replicate it. So it's a very unique feeling for sure.
How likely do you think it is that this iCar stuff could become, obviously with Corona going on right now, I mean, this is the ultimate booster for this side of the business, I would assume. How far can this go? I mean, can this become a staple of the Indy circuit, do you believe, or what do you think?
Look, I mean, it's got value. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, with the race this weekend being on NBCSN, it's out to our regular TV audience. So all those people that are hungry for IndyCar racing or just motorsports in general, or really just sports in general. What's so unique about this is it's not like, guys, hockey players grabbing NHL 2019 and playing on a PlayStation or an Xbox. This is so much more advanced, and it's so much more down to the driver and the experience they've got, that you really can replicate a truly good sporting event. So do I think it's ever going to replace what we're doing on a racetrack? No, I don't. There's nothing that really is quite as cool as the sounds and smells and feelings of Indy cars traveling around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But does that say that IndyCar doesn't at some point adopt a Wednesday night iRacing league? I don't know. I can see there's value for sponsor. It's fun for the drivers. What's unique about our sport, Jack, is we don't get to practice the way that other sports get to practice. If you are a basketball player and you suck at three-pointers, you can go stand at any three-point line in front of any basket anywhere in the country, and you can practice all day and all night until you're good at three-pointers. In the IndyCar series, the rules are very restrictive on how much we get to go testing, to go practice. We only get about 4 days in the car from the end of one season to the beginning of the next. So, that's like telling LeBron he only gets to practice 4 times from the end of the championship to the first game.
Is racing more physical or more mental, do you think?
Yes. I think racing is a tremendous example of a sport that's so finely balanced between the two. Obviously the physicality, I think the mental side of it's pretty obvious to people. When you're traveling at 200 miles an hour, you're covering a football field a second. And so if you miss a turning point by 1/10 of a second, that's 10 yards. And we're talking about a window of error that is 6 inches, maybe a foot. And so you have to be so mentally sharp over the course of 500 miles to make sure, and that's just driving through one corner by yourself. You've got to do 800 corners with 32 other cars on track. So it's a massively mentally strenuous task. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. The one thing that we really struggle with is explaining the physicality of these cars to people. Drivers, we're athletes. We have to train 6 days a week to be physically fit enough to drive these cars. Those G-forces put a tremendous amount of, energy through the body. You've got to be able to manage the car and balance it on the edge of grip through a 3G corner. We don't have power steering, so they're very physical through the steering wheel. You need good neck muscles, good forearm, grip strength, core muscles, leg muscles. We put almost 2,000 pounds of pressure through the braking system when we hit the brake pedal. So it really is a head-to-toe fitness regime that we've got to follow. And honestly, keeping yourself physically fit really does help with the mental side of the game, kind of in that last quarter of a race.
So how has the virus changed your physical routine? What are you able to do now that you weren't able to do, or vice versa?
It hasn't changed a lot. The way we're sort of approaching it is, like any sport, you have your training program designed around where in the year you want, right? Yep. So we have a very, very strict off-season, very specific off-season routine. And we had kind of obviously just got to the end of it, and it transitioned to the in-season routine for the start of the season in St. Pete. And now that we've sort of extended the off-season, we've sort of just reverted back to our off-season program. So we kind of feel like we came out of St. Pete and it was January 1st. And that's kind of the mindset that you've had to put yourself in. It's like, okay, we've now got 3 months before the season starts. Let's go through the same kind of training that we would have starting January 1st.
So take me to the Indy 500. The biggest difference between the 500 and any other race that you'll be in around the year?
History. That's the difference. The Indianapolis 500 is what started it all. The first race was in 1911. We've done 103 of them now. And that's really what launched the sport of IndyCar racing. And so when you look at the list of past winners, it's a who's who of the greats of the sport. That facility, every time you drive into it, I don't care how many times you've been there, every time you drive through the tunnel at Indy, you come out in the largest sports stadium on earth. This is the home of the largest single-day sporting event on earth. 350,000 people there on race day. And there's just an energy about the place, just something about it, And so you could go build a new fancy racetrack and you could put all these things, flashy things in it. But the one thing money can't buy is history. And Indy just has more of that than anywhere else. And that's what makes it so special.
So take me to this weekend. We have the iCar race on NBCSN this weekend. If I'm a casual fan, convince me to watch this race. Why should I tune in? Why should I be a part of this weekend?
Well, what other live sports are you watching this weekend?
None.
No, in all seriousness, and that is one good reason. But what is so cool about this is it's online. We are able to replicate so accurately what really happens in a race. And so you've got all these guys that are professional racing drivers, some of them maybe with more sim experience than others, but we're going to real tracks. We're driving the cars. They have very similar handling characteristics as the real thing does. We're going to put on a show that would be as good, if not better, than one of our actual races. And we're doing it in this awesome, cool new way. We're taking advantage of an unfortunate situation that we're all in. We're finding a silver lining for it. And like I said, you can only rewatch the 2016 Super Bowl so many times. You know who won. You don't know who won the race on Saturday, so might as well tune in and see.
I'm watching that and horse racing with nobody in the stand. So believe me, I'm going to be tuning in this Saturday. So past or present, this is our lockdown lightning round right now.
Okay.
Past or present, anyone through time, who would you most want to join your quarantine crew?
Oh, wow. So that's a great question. I mean, I'm assuming we can't like default to the obvious answer like my wife, right? Like I got to just say that.
You most certainly cannot.
Okay, perfect. So you know, I'm a lighthearted guy. I like to laugh and have fun. So I'd want to be quarantined with somebody that made me laugh. So if I had to pick someone, I'd probably go with like Seth MacFarlane or something.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All about entertainment. All about an excuse to smile, in my opinion, right now. Okay, if you were running for your life in a high-speed pursuit, you can have any car in the world. What car are you in?
Ooh. Can I have my Indy car?
Any car but your Indy car.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm breaking all the rules here. Any car. Honestly, I would want to try. I think I'd want an Acura NSX.
Oh, okay. Explain what is that one? Is that their souped up version?
Yeah. That's Acura's like supercar, hybrid sports car. It's pretty trick, man. It's pretty fast. It can beat Ferraris and Lambos. It's a neat little machine.
This is the third and final of our lightning round here. How many times have you used your race suit as a porta potty?
Honestly, just the one time.
Once.
I've been doing it 10 years, and I made it like 8 years without doing it, and I was so proud of that fact. And then one day, it's actually a funny story. I know it's a lightning round. I'm ruining it, but
no, please. With all the other questions, this is really the only one that I care about. So please take your time.
This is the top 3 question we get as drivers. Is, how do you go to the bathroom in the race car? And so the situation was we had a race actually at Barber where we're racing this Saturday in the iRacing, the IndyCar iRacing Challenge, and it was raining. So we had a rain delay basically, but we're strapped in the cars, we're ready to go. And we sat there for about an hour and it didn't look like we were going to get to go out. So I asked one of the pit officials, hey, can I go use the bathroom quick? And he said, no, I think we're going to start going. I'm like, there's no way we're going. It's raining more than it was before. He goes, no, I think we're going. And I was dying. I was dying for a pee. And they're like, all right, fire up the cars. We're going to start. And I thought, oh, man. So we go out, and I'm shaking. I'm in so much pain. And, like, my foot's shaking on the throttle, and it's slipping. I'm like, if I don't do something here, I'm going to crash the car, and that's going to be the reason that I can't have that. Yep. So it took me a long time. I built up the courage. I let it go. And then, like, 30 seconds later, the race director came on. He said, nah, conditions are too bad. Everybody come back in the pits, get out of the cars. Didn't even have to. If I just waited like 2 more minutes, I kept my perfect streak alive. But I've got my my one mark there.
Your one mark, and then 5 minutes later, you're sitting in the lap lane in your own pee.
Yeah.
Unbelievable story. I love it. Okay. So we've done this one with everybody. The quarantine ID. This is online. This is an interweb thing. You may have seen it on the internet by now. It is the last thing you ate plus your high school mascot. So this is the I'm the over easy Bluebird checking in. Okay. What should we call you?
What was the last thing I ate? Mine's a cheeseburger devil.
Okay, you're the Devils.
I'm the Devils, yeah.
There you go, my guy. James, this has been a pleasure, man. I cannot wait to get involved in this whole Indy thing, and I really appreciate you taking some time and explaining all the iCar stuff to us as well.
Of course, man. Of course. Hey, go get a wheel and come join us. Anybody can play.
Damn right.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.